All right, the last thing we need to talk about is the idea of promissory estoppel. Establishing a definite term so as to overcome the presumption of employment at will can be difficult. And so what has happened is that employers will attempt to ensure that all their relationships are employment at will. And so what often happens is that the employer may promise something, and if it's not provided, the employee may complain, but the employer will say, this is an at-will relationship. I don't have to give you a raise. Say we go in and I say, I will review you for a raise in 3 months. And you come to work and you work for 3 months and you come to me and ask for, what about a review? And I say, no, I changed my mind. There's nothing in the contract that says I have to give you 3 months or that I have to do the review. So how is it that we overcome that? Well, we overcome that oftentimes through this legal doctrine of promissory estoppel. And promissory estoppel is a legal term. It's a big term, but what it really means is that sometimes if you act based on a promise, that's going to put a burden on the promisor to follow through on the promise. And so courts like this idea of promissory estoppel because it provides some protection to the employee. Say you are recruited to come move across the country to California, and they promise you that you've got a great job waiting for you in California, and so you sell off all of your possessions in Oklahoma and you take the long drive out to California and you show up on the first day and the employer says, I'm sorry, we changed our mind. Well, the employment at will doctrine says, hey, you don't have any choice. They could fire you for any reason. That unless you specified a definite term, then, 1 day is enough to fire you. But promissory estoppel says that, hey, I spent a lot of money to get out here. I should be entitled to some recovery. In order to establish promissory estoppel, you have to require a showing of detrimental reliance, meaning you relied on the promise to your detriment. In that example, you sold off all your goods in Oklahoma and you moved to California. Even though there's no contract for a specified term, you may say that, look, I only did this because I relied on the promise made by the employer. So promissory estoppel requires that an employer made a promise that it knew would be relied upon. And this promise must have led the plaintiff to act. So promissory estoppel doesn't come up a lot, but it is sort of an exception to employment at will. You don't get the benefits of the contract. I say it's similar to an implied contract. You don't get the benefits of the contract, but you do recover the amount that you were harmed. So in our example, the amount that you spent moving to California or the loss you took on the goods you sold in Oklahoma, that may be recoverable. You don't get the year's salary or whatever it is you claim, but you get enough to make up what it was that you lost. So in conclusion, what do we learn in this lecture? An employer can make any employment decision at once as long as it's not based on illegal or otherwise wrongful grounds. The law presumes that employees are hired as at-will employees. And finally, in recent years, we've seen the at-will doctrine erode slightly through the use of promissory estoppel. And that's it. Thank you.